Of course, the story of Sophonisba is one of the most poignant and dramatic tales to emerge from the Punic Wars, a classic blend of history, romance, and tragedy that has captivated artists, playwrights, and historians for centuries. Here is the tragic tale of Sophonisba of Carthage, the political pawn. Sophonisba, also sometimes spelled Sophonisbe, was a Carthaginian noblewoman, the daughter of the general Hasdrubal Gisco. Born into one of the most powerful families in Carthage during the Second Punic War, 218-201 BC, her life was never her own. She was renowned for her exceptional beauty, intelligence, and spirited character, but these qualities were seen as assets to be used for the strategic advantage of her city. Her father, understanding the power of such an alliance, married her around 206 BC to Syphax, the powerful king of the Numidian Massicili tribe. Numidia, in modern-day Algeria and Tunisia, was a crucial region, supplying the excellent cavalry that was the backbone of both Carthaginian and Roman armies. At the time of the marriage, Syphax had been an ally of Rome, but Sophonisba's influence, combined with Carthaginian diplomacy, was so effective that she successfully persuaded him to switch his allegiance to Carthage. In this, she was the perfect agent of her people. A shifting tide and a new captor. The Romans, understandably alarmed by this shift, had their own Numidian ally, Massinissa, the king of the rival Massiliae tribe. Massinissa was a brilliant cavalry commander who fought alongside the Roman general Scipio Africanus. In 203 BC, the fortunes of war turned. The Roman and Massinissa forces attacked Syphax's capital, Cirta. During the battle, Syphax's own troops set fire to their camp, which spread to the city. In the ensuing chaos, Massinissa stormed into the city and captured it. Syphax was defeated and taken prisoner, and Sophonisba found herself in the hands of the victor. But here, the story takes its romantic turn. Upon seeing the beautiful and noble Sophonisba, and perhaps hearing her plead for mercy, Massinissa fell deeply in love with her. He was a proud Numidian king, and she was a captive queen of unparalleled grace. To save her from the ultimate humiliation of being paraded through the streets of Rome in Scipio's triumph, the certain fate of a high-ranking Carthaginian prisoner, Massinissa did something impulsive and audacious. He married her on the very same day he captured her. The impossible choice. This marriage was not merely an act of passion, it was also a political masterstroke for Massinissa. By marrying Syphax's queen, he solidified his claim over all of Numidia. However, it placed him in a direct conflict of interest with his Roman allies. When Scipio Africanus arrived in Cirta, he was furious. He saw through Massinissa's plan immediately. He reminded Massinissa that Sophonisba was a sworn enemy of Rome, whose influence had already turned one Numidian king, Syphax, against them. Scipio argued that she was a dangerous political operative, not just a beautiful woman, and that to keep her was to choose her over his vital alliance with Rome. He demanded that Sophonisba be surrendered to him to be taken to Rome as a prisoner of war. Massinissa was torn. He had given his word to Sophonisba that she would not suffer the disgrace of Roman captivity, but he also owed everything to his alliance with Rome, which was essential for his own survival and his dream of a united Numidia. To break with Scipio was to risk utter destruction. The cup of poison. Trapped by his duty and his honor, Massinissa made a horrifying decision. He could not bear to hand his bride over to the Romans, but he could not defy Scipio. He resolved that death was a more merciful fate for a queen than Roman chains. He sent a trusted servant to Sophonisba with a cup of poison and a message. The message conveyed his impossible position and his profound sorrow, ending with the heartbreaking words, as later dramatized by the Roman historian Livy, "If you cannot be my wife, you must die as a Carthaginian princess should." Sophonisba received the message with tragic dignity. She did not weep or rage. She accepted her fate as she had accepted her political duties her entire life. She is said to have declared, "I accept this wedding gift. It is a worthy one if my husband can find no other way to save his honor. Tell him I die as I lived, unvanquished." Without hesitation, she drank the poison and died. The aftermath and legacy. Massinissa was grief-stricken, but his alliance with Rome was secured. He would go on to become the most powerful and loyal Numidian king, ruling for over 50 years as a key Roman ally. The story, however, did not end with her death. It became a legend. A moral dilemma. The tale became a classic example of the conflict between love and duty, personal desire, and political necessity. Artistic inspiration. For centuries, her story was a popular subject in Renaissance and Baroque art by artists like Rembrandt, Tiepolo, and Giambattista, and theater, plays by Trissino, Marais, and Corneille. She was portrayed as the ultimate tragic heroine, beautiful, noble, and doomed. Historical symbol. Sophonisba represents the fate of women in the ancient world, even those of high birth. Their lives were often bargaining chips in the games of power played by men. Her story is a microcosm of the larger tragedy of the Punic Wars, where grand strategies and empires were built on countless personal sacrifices. In the end, the tragic tale of Sophonisba is not just the story of one woman's death, but a timeless narrative about the crushing weight of duty, the fleeting nature of power, and the high price paid for honor in a world at war. Settings. Of course. The story of Sophonisba is one of the most poignant and dramatic tales to emerge from the Punic Wars, a classic blend of history, romance, and tragedy that has captivated artists, playwrights, and historians for centuries. Here is the tragic tale of Sophonisba of Carthage, the political pawn. Sophonisba, also sometimes spelled Sophonisbe, was a Carthaginian noblewoman, the daughter of the general Hasdrubal Gisco. Born into one of the most powerful families in Carthage during the Second Punic War, her life was never her own.